I want to thank Chairwoman Cantwell for holding this hearing to discuss the challenges facing domestic and global competition in aviation manufacturing. It's certainly wonderful to see our colleague Senator Kirk here today, and I look forward to hearing from him, as well as to have Senator Wicker here at this hearing. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, in 2013, the aviation industry supported over 10 million jobs, contributed $1.3 trillion to total economic activity, and accounted for 5.2% of our U.S. GDP. Furthermore, air carriers operating in the U.S. airspace transported more than 837 million passengers and moved $61.2 billion revenue in tons of miles in freight. The FAA released a report earlier this summer stating that civil aircraft manufacturing continues to be the top net exporter in the United States, with a $54.3 billion positive impact on our trade balance. As someone who strongly supports free trade, I find this to be very encouraging for the industry, but we all know that we need to continue to be vigilant to ensure that this industry, which is so important to our economy, is more competitive in this global marketplace with the challenges that we face from competitors around the world. Clearly, this is an industry that's an important driver of our economy in terms of not only the growth of the economy, but the creation of jobs. In my home state of New Hampshire, we have a very strong aviation manufacturing presence. Not only do we have Boeing suppliers that create very important jobs for my home constituents, but we also have 4 prominent businesses in New Hampshire that provide key parts of major aviation companies that I'd like to highlight briefly. Cobham Antenna Systems in Exeter, New Hampshire, Astronics Corporation in Lebanon, and Safran Aerospace that has recently opened a plant in Rochester, New Hampshire, and GE in Hooksett. Each of these companies, I've had the pleasure of visiting almost all of them, and they play a very important role in terms of what we are seeing, but they've also expressed to me, each of them, the challenges they face in terms of competition in this country. Cobham specializes in air-to-air refueling, audio, video, and data communications, defense electronics, and life support and mission equipment. It's a major supplier for the Joint Strike Fighter, Boeing 787, and Global Hawk UAV. Astronics is a leader in advanced high-performance lighting, electronic power, avionics, data products, and automatic test systems for the global aerospace and defense industries. Safran is actually a multinational company, and we're pleased that they've just opened a plant in Rochester, New Hampshire, that will really be supporting the aviation industry. It's going to create 400 new jobs in New Hampshire. And one of the challenges that Safran has faced that it has met in an innovative way is it's partnered with our local community college in terms of getting the trained workforce it'll need to have these 400 new manufacturing jobs in New Hampshire. So I think that's a model we need to look at too, is partnering with local colleges to ensure that our workers have the training that they need to meet these advanced manufacturing jobs that are needed in aviation. And of course, GE Aviation's facility in Hooksett, very important to our state. They not only manufacture compressor valves, tubes, and airfoils for all GE engine programs, they're as well as building advanced turbofan engines for the Super Hornet and our Growler. And I've had the privilege of touring this facility recently, and I very much appreciate what they do in terms of defending our nation. As we hear from our panelists today, I will be particularly interested in their thoughts regarding what we can do to make this industry not only more competitive globally as we talk about things like reauthorizing the XM Bank, but also to understand from you what can we do thinking about our tax code to ensure that we are more competitive as we compete with other countries around the world, thinking about the regulatory climate that this industry that is so important to our economy faces, and how that regulatory climate here in the United States compares to their global competitors, and how competitive that climate is or isn't for the aviation industry. Finally, I hope that the witnesses We'll also discuss, importantly, the reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank. I have previously supported that reauthorization. One thing I will say about this reauthorization in and of itself, if every government program would return money to reduce the deficit, and then I think that we would have a lot better time here in terms of the trillions of dollars of debt that our nation is facing. And I think if it would be one thing if other countries around the world didn't have an equivalent to the Export-Import Bank, but that's not the reality that our companies are facing. That said, what I do want to hear from our panelists about today, while I support the importance of this reauthorization, I would like to hear on what types of reforms we do need to consider as we debate reauthorizing the Export-Import Bank. And one of the things we need to make sure is that our small and mid-sized companies have access to this capital as well to make them competitive in the global marketplace, because the reality is that many of the businesses in this country are small and mid-sized companies, and we hope that these small and mid-sized companies, if they have more access to capital, will go on to be our next generation of larger companies. So I'd like to hear about that today and what makes sense in terms of reforms that can be made to help particularly small and mid-sized companies. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses. And again, I want to welcome our colleague, Senator Kirk. It is great to have him here today.